So you made it this far in the series. Today I'd like to cover the Fuji Zone equation and the driving mindset behind touge on the sim. So if you're just jumping in and you heard me say Fuji Zone equation, you might have went, what the hell is this guy yapping about? But hold on. Going into my first sim, Gran Turismo 5, I began to realize that there's no speed boost from drifting, and it's a lot harder to drive now. It didn't scare me off from trying to find a way to drift and trying to find a way to get the drifts around the corner to have more speed. I found I must first learn the limit of grip available before I decide to get carried away with drift. I trained my throttle control in extreme conditions of low tire grades, battles in rain including against 4-wheel drive, battle simulation training within the team, Battle Motorsport, and studying through trial and error. As I began to sharpen my throttle control, I started to notice that there's a difference in human error and what would be perfect. In perfect throttle control, you'll notice that you can make more use of the RPMs and have extra stability in corners than most people would normally have. After all this intense training and with the mindset of learning from all the data in every run, I've been able to sharpen my car control and throttle control throughout the years. I've kept mental notes of cornering speeds, keeping track of RPMs, how much force and energy, like time, temperature, wheel spin, etc. that the tires can take before it breaks traction, keeping track of the center of gravity at all times, keeping track of the current pace of the opponent's speed at all times, including the overall pace of the run itself. Now I know that sounded like a lot and I just threw a lot at you, but all of what I just said is given to you in the telemetry of Gran Turismo. This is data that you can collect, and it's up to you to find a way to make use of it. And the Fuji Zone equation accounts for all of this and any variations on the fly, including mental effects on your opponent. In the beginning of the Sim Racing Drift Bible series, I mentioned the push and pull effect when the Fuji Zone equation is in use. This has multiple meanings depending on your level of understanding of the theory. It generally relates to the distance between the cat and mouse. An example is the chase car closing in on the gap, making the lead car push harder. Pace increases and decreases, and the gap fluctuates down the run. This push and pull continues as the lead driver tries to push away from or is pulled in by the chaser. An explanation is the Fuji Zone equation allows for variables and fluctuations in speed and attack angle to achieve target speeds and pace of the run. In other words, you'll be able to find room for excess slide angles in your cornering so you can add drifting into your racing style, so long as the drifts don't impede on the overall pace / enjoyment of the run. Pushing and pulling at the limit as you blend between 4-wheel drifts and speed drifting techniques. You'll be judging angles, increasing and decreasing depending on speed needed and amount of inertia. As you approach faster and faster speeds, there will be less room for excess slide angles at the absolute theoretical limit. Given that nobody's perfect and that you're in a touge run and not a time attack, the opponent is always kept in mind and is still an important part of the equation, meaning you can't drive through the car directly in front of you, and you must always keep the car behind you in mind. A person drifting won't always be faster, but the lead car drifting only needs to keep or exceed the pace of the chase car, and vice versa. Many drivers won't have the concentration to keep their pace in front if you are sliding behind them. The same thing goes the other way. This is where we get into mental effects on touge battles at the limit when drifting is in play. And this is where openings can appear. This is a double-edged sword because you need to pick and choose which corners to slide and execute your drifts well enough to not lose ground that you can't recover. You will encounter drivers with strong enough concentration that won't pay any mind to your excessive slide angles, and they'll continue racing at the best of their ability. You must be mindful on the touge that driving lines may cross due to a number of unpredictable and predictable factors, regardless if a car is drifting or not. And why does that happen? 1. Difference in driving skill. 2. Difference in drivetrain, leading to variations in attack angle and timing. And 3, like I've mentioned before, you can't drive through the person in front of you. And these are just to name like a few reasons. Keep in mind that a time attack is different from a touge run. In touge runs, there will be an optimal line to take, a fastest line to take, and a safest line to take. You must keep in mind all the variables and prepare for the unpredictable and unexpected when racing at the limit, because you'll never know which line you'll need to take. And you'll have to be in control of the car and have the mastery of the road to know which lines you can take. You must keep in mind all variables and prepare for the unpredictable and unexpected when racing at the limit. Many see drifting in a race as unnecessary or pointless, but I've done my best to show the benefits of this technique when used properly. It is most effective when not used on every corner during a race. A change in pace in many competitive professions usually makes it harder on the opponents. Like in boxing, changing up speeds and combos, using feints, all to keep your opponent on their toes or knock them off their toes. This catches them off guard. These moves and combos in the race are to be executed at a high level to be effective. A high-risk driving style with varying reward depending on how well it is executed. And I guess, depending on who you ask. Such moves also tend to subconsciously persuade the chaser into attempting to replicate. This can lead to small and big errors, giving room in the equation for excessive slide angles as the drift attacks pile on of mental and physical touge dogfight. Errors happen because shadowing or zoning in on the lead car's movements is a natural and common phenomenon in racing. And if the movements aren't copied within a given margin of error, there will be discrepancies. Like Takumi referencing that if the still lady can attack corners the way it does, so can his 8-6. This is true in a sense, but what many can forget is that you need proper throttle control to manipulate the car in the way you want, with control and have less chance for driving error. You can still throw a car into a corner the same way, but if you don't know how your car will react to your different throttle inputs, it will be much harder for you to replicate the exact movements, and if you're not on the same pace or the same level, you will begin to continuously fall behind. In many cases in simulated touge runs, I've noticed that drivers will also throw their cars into corners to chase the drift, even if the car isn't properly set up to take the corner. This leads to accidental oversteer and understeer, missing braking points, crossing lines, and etc. This causes a gap or misstep in car control or mastery of the road. Chaining and compounding drifts at speed and cornering with unorthodox entries will multiply their effects on your opponent as they break concentration. In Assetto Corsa, many dream to simulate and reimagine the driving of Initial D and the real-life golden arrow to pan on the touge. Many were taught the term slip angle, properly known as forward drifting, is the ultimate style of cornering and the key behind Takumi's driving. I do believe this is the most efficient and the fast way around the corner, even if the slide is at its most shallow angle. This driving can help you find the theoretical limit of speeds through and find the fastest possible time through a corner, section, or entire road. However, when you look at Takumi's driving, you can see that four-wheel drift isn't the whole picture. It doesn't satisfy the whole equation. Being completely sideways before entering a corner is throwing away grip and instantly breaking traction, an extreme excess in slide angle. By understanding everything we've discussed so far in the Fuji Zone equation, you can see exactly what goes into getting the car to move like you want. To make an 88.6 have an appearance of four-wheel drive, to enter corners at great angles and still be fast, to to maneuver your car through the touge in a dancing grace as you get into the zone, the Fuji Zone. This is a complete overview of the Fuji Zone equation and the driving of it should be, and the end of the main entries into my Sim Racing Drift Bible series. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please share it with a friend. And I appreciate all your support. See you in the next one.